Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us today. My internet has been brutal, but luckily for you, Ricky is absolutely the guy you want to be talking to. So if I start going, that's all right. Ricky's just going to take it away and he's going to talk for 40 minutes. And hopefully my internet comes back so that I can stop him talking at 40 minutes because he'll go for 2 hours, which I'm
Yes.
sure you would love. So this might just be our last webinar of the year. Maybe we're going to sneak another one out over the next few weeks, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But we think this is really no better topic to close us off. When you get to this time of year, obviously it's about reflecting on how far we've come. And for anyone who's been active in the platform engineering community or is active in the industry, you know we've come pretty far. It's been a pretty big year in terms of software, in terms of platform engineering, in terms of cloud infrastructure. And I think there's no better person to be talking to than Ricky for this. So anyone who saw our PlatformCon takeaways webinar a few weeks ago or a couple months ago or whenever that was, there were some thoughts and insights there, which we thought, oh, maybe this would be the statement for the year. And so we'll be touching on some of that as well. And as just a last little thing before we kick things off and we hand over to Ricky, we'll be publishing very soon our State of Platform Engineering report. And a lot of the insights from this conversation come from data from there. Now, that report is based on 518 survey responses, but it's also based on hundreds of conversations with practitioners, with teams, with leaders who are really working on the platform engineering space. And an overwhelming amount of that insight is from Ricky and from people like Ricky who are really on the ground in the nitty gritty, basically across the whole world, working on platforms, big, small, regulated, less regulated, I was going to say non-regulated, but more regulated versus less regulated in different countries. So I'm really glad to have Ricky here to have this conversation. So before we kick things off, we're going to be talking for about 30 minutes, we'll aim to, and then we'll do about 15 minutes of Q&A. But feel free if you have questions at any point, put the questions in the chat and maybe we'll just take them or we'll respond to them. We're not going to have a bunch of slides here. This is just going to be locked in, me and Ricky, awesome conversation, and you here in the chat with us. So before we kick things off, Ricky, who are you? Why do you get the honor of being our expert?
Yes. For folks that aren't familiar, I work for a company, Thoughtworks. We are kind of a global consultancy. People have probably read the Tech Radar, maybe some of the other publications that we've put out, maybe familiar with Martin Fowler. But at Thoughtworks, I'm the global practice area director for platform engineering. So I'm helping our customers build out platforms, get more mature within the platform engineering practice, and kind of spread and evangelize platform engineering across the globe.
Awesome. Now, if Ricky, that was Ricky's title because he works at ThoughtWorks. If Ricky worked with us, we would just call him Platform Engineering Master. But because it's ThoughtWorks, he needs to have a much cooler title than what we would give him. But let's leap right into this. We've only got 30 minutes. You and I did a panel at PlatformCon in June, which was on what is great platform engineering. And I remarked in that opening that the year before I had done a panel on what is platform engineering. And this seemed to me quite a rapid advancement. 52 weeks is a long time, but it's also quite short when you think about an industry level of maturity going from what even is this thing? How different is it from SRE or DevOps to how do we do it great? And I would say in the 6 months since then, we have already become significantly more mature as well. So I would love to zoom in on this topic of what makes great platform engineering, but I'd also like to just peek a little bit on what you have kind of seen in that journey and your experience around platform engineering and conversations around platform engineering, especially in the enterprise over the last year.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's actually pretty timely. I mentioned I was in Reston, Virginia. I'm actually here at a client doing a look ahead, current state assessment, and look ahead for where they're at within their platform engineering journey. I think what I've seen since that panel in the last 6 months, I've seen us really see the evolution of platform engineering. I think I agree with you. This time last year, we were really working on defining what is platform engineering, how is it different from DevOps or DevSecOps, how is it different from SRE, and I think it has really matured. I think we are not arguing as much or trying to decide as much about what should be within an engineering platform or developer platform. And now we are advancing that and starting to talk about these more mature, more advanced opportunities that are there. And one thing that I think we are focusing in on here at ThoughtWorks with our customers is that identification of what is a platform and what does good look like. And one of the things that we've done is we've looked at our customers. I've looked at our customers. We've looked at our customers globally. And I think we're starting to identify 10 to 12 very specific platform engineering capabilities that we think are table stakes. So two of them are more binary. If you're not doing platform product thinking or have some of the platform product thinking pieces that are there, aren't anchoring your platform engineering practice to enterprise architecture, creating golden paths, creating kind of the paved roads that are there, we think that you're probably not doing platform engineering. But then there are some of these capabilities that are there, like infrastructure automation and CI/CD pipeline management, testing, security and compliance, observability, containerization of the platform, more cloud native stuff, API management, cost management, governance and controls, and developer experience. We think that those things are kind of like the core tenets of or core capabilities of any of the good platforms that are out there. And that is what good looks like for what we're seeing. So we're seeing the more successful teams, of course, solve developer problems, but are providing those capabilities to their engineering teams and to the business to actually achieve kind of business outcomes. There's a bunch of stuff that we could talk about around measurements and DORA and leading and lagging indicators. But when it comes to like what are the technical capabilities and what are the operating capabilities that a platform engineering team has needs, those are the things that we're seeing repeated over and over amongst the more mature platform engineering teams that we're working with.
And I would just quickly say here, because I didn't say at the beginning, we are recording this session. So I can imagine there was a bunch of people furiously taking notes as Ricky mentioned those core capabilities there. So the recording is going live on YouTube, so you can get an AI summary. You can pull that out, and Ricky, I think, is actually doing a guest newsletter on Platform Weekly next week, which will be on this exact topic. So if you're probably a reader of Platform Weekly. If you aren't, you should be, platformweekly.com. Ricky will be breaking down all 12 of those capabilities and some of his thoughts coming from AWS last week. One thing I want to continue off from there is, yes, those 12 capabilities, that's absolutely key. But the fact that even before the 12 capabilities, golden paths, platform as a product. And I think that's a really important thing here for people to understand, that doing platform as a product or not doing platform as a product is not a differentiator of good platform engineering versus bad in platform engineering. It's a differentiator of whether you're actually doing platform engineering at all. If you are
Yes.
not doing platform as a product, you're not really yet doing platform engineering. Would you say that's correct, Ricky?
Exactly. And even when Evan Boticher had that kind of like seminal paper about platform engineering in 2018, platform product thinking was a part of it even then. So I think those core pillars, like regardless of if you're, doing CI/CD pipeline management or any of these other things, I think that those things around platform product thinking, self-service
Mm.
infrastructure and self-service capabilities, golden paths, paved roads, those things are what separates a team that is just providing a bunch of different tools to their engineers from an actual platform team that's affecting change at the scale of some of the enterprise customers that we're working with. So those are the things where I'm going in and talking to clients and spending 8 to 10 weeks with them doing kind of one of these assessments. And then we're seeing, oh, you're really close to being a platform engineering team. You're maybe providing a bunch of different projects or Terraform templates to engineers. And we want to give you that next level of maturity. It's adding in the product platform thinking. It's starting to talk to developers, which is a concept that has come up multiple times. Where it's like, why would I talk to my devs? Because you need to know what they need so that you can actually meet those needs. And then the product platform thinking piece that I mentioned. There's this additional thing that I've been adding into that word or into that phrase is treating your platform like it's a product, of course. But now
Yeah.
I've been starting to talk to individuals and organizations about treating your platform like a SaaS product,
Mm.
right? And that adds in a number of different elements into that around voices of the customer and developer success teams or field engineering teams. So there's this evolution that's there, this evolution from a maturity standpoint. But regardless where I think we're going to go with the introduction of AI and agents and all of these things later on, those kind of core tenets around product platform thinking, self-service, golden paths, API management, enterprise architecture, those core tenets, I think will remain, whether or not we're doing, AI infrastructure or data platforms or any of these other things.
And I think I really like this. You said this in the roundtable that we did in Las Vegas, totally blanked because we've done so
Almost
many of
this
them
time
together.
last week. Almost this
Yeah,
time
literally
last
just
week.
like seven days ago, and I've already forgotten
Yeah.
about it. I think this idea of thinking about it like a SaaS product, I think makes it easier for probably many of the people listening here, but also many of the people I talk to. Platform as a product, yes, it was exactly reInvent. We were at reInvent Chatel. So and when you think about a SaaS product, we all use SaaS products. And so what does that entail? Well, a SaaS product is always going to have a product manager. There is going to be a product manager running that SaaS product. There is going to be documentation. I mean, what tool have you ever used that didn't have documentation, whether it was very good or not, whatever, but it had documentation, it had customer success, and more than that, it wasn't thought of in this kind of one and done type mantra. You know, most products you've ever built or you've ever worked with are not a project. It's not great, it's done, we've got version 1.0 out, moving on. It's something that's 1.0, 1.01, 1.02. And that's really how you need to think about your platform as well. And that's when we talk about, this keyword of table stakes of like what is a good platform. It's not even just that that's a good platform. That is platform engineering. If you're not doing that part, if you're not thinking about how you're going to do that part, then you're not really doing platform engineering yet. And I think that's one of the things I see people struggle with. And then when I tie it back to the definitional thing, people asking me, oh, well, all these things you've just said, I'm doing all of that stuff, but I'm a DevOps team, I'm doing DevOps. And I'm like, well, do you do user research? Are you interviewing developers? Are you interviewing, people? Are you really actually, do you have a customer success team? Are you thinking about this like a product? Well, no. There you go. There's the difference. And that's where we tie these things together. So I'll just take Rohit your question, and then I think Ricky can clarify that for a moment for us. So thank you, Rohit. Do you mean SaaS platform in reference to extending the platform besides software engineering realm and including data, ML, and AI infrastructure as well?
The answer to that is yes, and so certainly those things, right? The extension of the infrastructure. However, I think we're thinking about the operating model that a SaaS company would actually work under. So I don't know how many people of the 96 or 100 people that are on the call have ever bought and ever purchased from the enterprise vendor something like Salesforce
Mm.
or another like actual SaaS product that's like Salesforce or SAP or any of these other types of like SaaS consumption companies. Those companies actually operate their platform like it's a SaaS product. So they have product engineers, they're thinking about total addressable market, they're thinking about the actual interfaces that customers um, are going to work in. They have UX departments, they have user research, they do release notes, they have marketing campaigns, they have all of this kind of like infrastructure to make sure that people will buy and effectively use their products. That same those same concepts should be baked into how we develop and manage and maintain our platform engineering platforms for developers. So internally for an organization, they should be thinking about their developer platforms like it's just a SaaS product, and they should be creating those same constructs. So they should be doing marketing campaigns for, hey, we just introduced a new, Java 20 Golden Path, and we were all on Java 8. It's going to be something that we want to let everyone know about. We're going to have an entire marketing campaign around that, and we want to do those things. Or, hey, we want to get people off of, Jenkins onto GitHub Actions. So we're going to develop a set of, field engineering capabilities or migration teams to go and work with the developers, understand their problem set, and then kind of mature those capabilities over time. So it's not just from an infrastructure perspective. We see most of the, good to decent teams doing that from an infrastructure perspective, not treating the infrastructure as projects and thinking of them as products, but that advanced thinking of, if I was trying to, get my platform, my developer platform, consumed and used by 1,000 engineers at a very large or mid-sized, enterprise company, what would it take to do all of those things? I have
Yeah.
to do surveys, I have to do interactions with those devs, I have to build communities. So all of those things have to be there for them. All of those things have to be there. And we're seeing the most successful platform engineering teams really lean into those things so that they can provide the most business impact for their organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for anyone here who has worked in a startup before, I think that type of framework around this is a product that we're putting out, all of the things that go along with that. Think of any SaaS tool you've used. They do educational webinars, they do internal marketing, they name the product. I think release notes is a key one, documentation. Now, you don't have to go from, okay, well, I run our CI/CD pipelines to now I need to do internal webinars about our CI/CD pipeline. But what you can do is you can start by thinking, okay, what are the next features or next improvements I want to add in? How do I make that decision? Well, let me do it by talking to the developers. Let me put together a survey. ChatGPT can help you write the questions, and then getting that survey out to developers, out to the users of this platform, asking them where their pain is, asking them, just hopping on a call with them and interviewing them and asking about it, starting to think about documentation of how to onboard to the platform, how to use the platform, new features to the platform. Really think about your internal platform as if it was a product that you were selling to a market. Um, that really is the key fundamental difference. And for some of the kind of leaders here, for some of the others here, I wanted to kind of zoom in on one of the other big things that has really come up this year, in my opinion. 3 years ago, we knew platform as a product was super key. So we could have been having this exact same conversation 3 years ago. It would have sounded very similar. It would have been theoretical, but it
Mhm.
would have been very, very, very similar. The key difference, I think, now is on the role of the platform product manager. 3 years ago, it was really the idea that you just want to get your whole team to think product, and you absolutely do want to do that. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but we've really seen the rise of the platform product manager role. I've written a few articles on that, which have performed incredibly well. We've just done the State of Platform Engineering survey. We have found that 25% of respondents have a platform product manager running the product mindset for their platform. I'm curious, Ricky, about your experience in seeing this platform product manager role.
Yep. I think we're seeing it pop up more and more. I think around 35% of our clients have something like that. I think, again, if I look at I don't want to say gold standard, but the more successful platform product teams, they all have a technical product manager or a platform product manager that's there to do some of those things like Rohit in the comments is talking about, which is, how do I make the platform usable so that I can drive adoption? I need to have a dedicated person that's there, that's doing the empathy work, that's understanding the developer's needs, that's prioritizing, that is avoiding backlog coupling, some of these things that makes developers frustrated about, like, where, how and why am I using the platform? I think that that helps drive those outcomes. And again, I look to some of the successful platform engineering teams that I talk to and interact with. One I can name because they're not a customer of ours, but I look at the American Airlines platform engineering team. I talk to those folks quite a bit, and they have a dedicated a technical product manager, platform product manager that's responsible for all of the developer interfaces that are there.
Mm.
A lot of times we think about, hey, I'm just going to expose a tool to the developers. I think about GitLab or Circle CI, one of these types of tools. Yeah, we're going to give CI/CD to the developers, and we're just going to give them access to
Mm.
that tool. I think there's to help drive adoption, sometimes you need the proper platform abstraction, you need the right interface that's there. Should that be a developer portal? Should it be direct tool access? Should it be something that's an IDE plugin or in the IDE? Or should it be something that's a CLI or
Mm.
something like that? So I think you need a platform product manager to navigate the different touch points and to collect this information to actually drive the team. Everyone should be involved in that platform product conversation. Just like
Yeah.
if I was running a SaaS startup and I would say, hey, I want to make sure that everyone understands the mission from a tester or a junior dev all the way to the CEO of a particular company. That same way, we're doing all of that work, but it's primarily driven by the platform product manager, so that you have a dedicated person that can think about this all the time and is expert from that standpoint. And I'll just mention one anti pattern that has come up around the platform product manager is converting a project manager into that role without the enablement and training that they need. So time and time again, I see some of these teams struggling to get from, if we was
Mm.
out of five, most mature team, one least mature team, trying to get from that 3 or 4 range to the five. It's generally, hey, you've just taken a project manager and you've converted them to a product manager on the platform side, but you've not given them the skills and enablement to actually make sure that they're able to do that job, right? So that's one anti pattern that we've seen pop up multiple times through the clients that I've been working and talking to.
You stole my line, Ricky. That's what I was going to talk about right now.
Listen, because we're
That's how
seeing the
you
same
know
thing.
it's really the thing you need to think about, because that, I think, is the other cardinal mistake you could really make, is not not getting not only not getting a dedicated person, but also not getting a dedicated person who kind of already has those skills, or you're willing to dedicate the energy into training. Because it's not enough to just be like, hey, Susan, you're the platform product manager now. Susan's like, okay, what does that mean? Or taking a project manager who's great at getting a project done on time, and under budget. That's nice. And then moving on to the next thing. No, no, no. You really want, and this can be a tough conversation. So if you are a leader here watching, it is, in my opinion, one of the highest ROI things you can do with your product management talent is to put them on one of these internal platforms. And I know that that's a hard conversation and a hard mindset shift that some have had to make, because you're thinking, well, there's direct ROI from an external facing product. How can I pull one of my hotshots away from direct ROI onto perceived indirect ROI? Now, there's a lot of great content on ROI calculations and ROI analysis. I would argue that platform engineering ROI has many very direct things you can easily quantify. A platform product manager would be fantastic at quantifying that. So if you are a head of platform and don't have a platform product manager, really one of the best things you can drive for at the beginning is getting that role, thinking about, okay, getting them right away, because it will make all of the ROI questions so much easier. It will make the measurement point so much easier. It will really turn it into an actual defined product. And then once it's a product, you're actually doing platform engineering, and then you're really off to the races there, in my opinion. Now, we've got a few hands raised and stuff. I would say for the hands raised, just ask the question in the chat, because I don't have the ability to let you talk. Well, I mean, I kind of do, but it's a bit complicated. So better just put your question right in the chat and take it from there. what I want to just jump right into now, because I said we were going to stop talking at 30 and take some questions, but there's two really defining topics that we haven't touched on yet. And one of them I forgot to warn you about ahead of time. And it's really around this idea of platform engineering eating the world or shifting down into the platform. These new kind of domains that are being discovered. And I think that's a great segue onto the next point, which is AI. If you guessed it, you probably saw the title. Obviously, we're going to talk about AI. But we have seen in the community an absolutely massive increase in the number of observability focused titles, data focused titles, security, FinOps, consuming the content, writing articles, becoming ambassadors. We've done a course on observability for platform engineers. We have 3 courses on security coming up. These were domains that we didn't really talk about at all last year. They were obviously always a part of the equation, but it's not like anyone was talking about observability platforms or observability by, design within a platform. Now it seems like that's a table stakes almost. It's like security is such an obvious thing to shift into it. Now I'm curious if what we see in the community side, what we see in that data, I'm curious from your perspective and what you're seeing on that.
On the AI side, so we at Platform Con 2025 in London, I got on stage and said that I didn't want to talk about AI. So that was 6 months ago. And I will say in that 6 months, my personal role has been completely dominated by AI. Um, so I can no longer avoid talking about it. I think that there's two lenses that we are looking at the kind of convergence of AI and platform engineering. So one is about taking existing engineering practices and maturing and accelerating outcomes around those things. So the easiest example that I talk to clients about is around the enterprise testing example, right? So if I'm a platform engineering team and I want to shorten the lead time and I want to provide better testing capabilities, but we only have 20% unit test coverage, or we don't have enough end-to-end test automated, or there's all of these deficiencies in the testing practice or any of the practices that are there within the SDLC, within the software delivery lifecycle. We are seeing more and more clients embed AI agents and agentic workflows and just, AI in general around maturing and improving software engineering practices. So that's kind of like the, human growth hormone to be able to be so tall to ride a ride. So using AI to accelerate the maturity of some of those practices is one lens. And if you're talking about enterprise-wide adoption of some of those techniques and practices, then you want to centralize that around the platform engineering team. I think the other lens is how do we provide the right infrastructure and expand the infrastructure for some of the new capabilities that we want to do. That could be, customer service agents or different AI and ML workloads. Because I think one of the things that one of our chief data directors over in the APAC region said, which is um, about the I think we've over focused and over indexed on LLMs in particular. And there are other AI techniques, right? Machine learning, predictive, prescriptive analytics, all of these different things that are there. And so we are really trying to expand that aperture, provide the right infrastructure, so that could be clusters, TPUs, GPUs, to the developers, data and AI ML analysts. So that's the other side of the coin, is how do you extend your current platforms to be able to provide those capabilities to your engineers so they can move super, super fast and take advantage and pivot and take advantage of, new models with all the right guardrails in place. So we're seeing both of those things. We're working with all of those different types of companies and clients, and we're trying to figure out how to advance that state that's there. So we're seeing all of that happening.
And you absolutely see that reflected in the data as well. I mean, I remember 6 months ago when we were like, "Wow, do we have to talk about AI?" And there was there was a level of immaturity still in the AI story around platform engineering. It was very much, oh, just generate a bunch of code, generate a bunch of docs. And you're like, okay, well, that's not really like, do you have platforms or product? Do you have your, 12 platform capabilities? But what we've really seen since then is not just a maturity in the AI and a maturity in the platform engineering, but a deeper understanding of that relationship. So I wrote a report with contributions from Rickey, in fact, on the state of AI and platform engineering, and of course, DORA, much bigger report, which very conveniently said the exact same thing. Would have been very inconvenient if they said different things, which really talked about like that symbiotic relationship of AI and platform engineering. So in the DORA report, they revealed that almost 90% of enterprises have a platform, in an internal platform already. This is an incredible rate at which this has happened. I remember 2 years ago, Gartner predicting that by 2026, there would be 80%. And like, I'm one of the platform guys. I've been so invested in this for years. And even I was like, oh, Gartner, that's that's not happening. And we beat it. We have 10% more a year faster. And why is that? It's really the AI stuff that Ricky is talking about now. People using AI not just to accelerate their platforms, but organizations and large enterprises and really everyone in the community seeing if you want good and effective AI, you need that platform layer beneath it. That's what allows you to experiment. It's what allows you to test things. It's what gives you kind of the guardrails and the freedom to really play around, to explore things. And absolutely not just from the LLM standpoint. I think that's also a mistake that everyone was making. 6 months
Mhm.
ago, the whole universe had seemed to have forgotten that AI has been around for a long time before LLMs became popular, where it's now we're starting to see the awesome stuff we can do with, knowledge retrieval, with lots of deterministic stuff, more creative ways of using AI capabilities in ways that it's really good for. So if you haven't read the State of AI and Platform Engineering report, I would really recommend going and having a read of that, going through some of the data in there and some of the best practices at the end. We'll also certainly do an updated version of that probably within the next 2 months because it's all moving so fast that I
Mhm.
feel like it's already on the path to getting out of date. And I released it like 2 months ago. Um, one of the
I,
things, so we
I
have,
will say one
yeah,
thing,
go ahead.
Sam, really quickly. I think because we sponsored some of the DORA report stuff, and I've talked to a lot of the folks on the platform engineering side of the DORA report, like James and Eric and Leah and on all of those folks. I think one thing that we're starting to see more and more, and why kind of the adoption of AI tooling is kind of connected and driving some of the platform engineering adoption as well, is kind of these two things that we're seeing. And it may be more anecdotal, but I think it's been proved out through a lot of the research that you're doing, that Google's doing through the DORA report, that other folks like Circle CI and JetBrains and all those people that are doing all of this research are seeing. I think one, initially there was this idea that I could just give my developers a bunch of coding tools, and then those coding tools would just improve outcomes, right? So initially, I would even say as far back as January of 2023, when GitHub Copilot first came out, the idea was I'm just going to give GitHub Copilot to 750 or 1,000 or 10,000 of my devs, and they're going to be more productive and they're going to write more code, and it's going to be great. And we quickly kind of hit this inflection point of, oh, either they don't want to use it or they're not getting the best outcomes that they want out of that, that we want out of that, or they're just writing a bunch more code, and the rest of the ecosystem, either upstream or downstream, talking about CI/CD and delivery and all of these other parts and pieces of the SDLC, just aren't ready to handle the influx of 1,000 lines or 10,000 or 1,000,000 lines more code per release. So
Mhm.
I think that meant that, hey, we have to invest more on the platforms. We have to actually have platform engineering teams. We have to mature that practice within these large enterprise organizations. So I think that kind of drove a lot of teams maturing their platform engineering practice. I also think the other side of that was true, that the interfaces and the ability to have enterprise-wide adoption of different AI tools and techniques within the SDLC, this ability to kind of centralize some of that and then provide it at enterprise-wide scale also drove a lot of the platform engineering adoption and the idea that we want to use AI tools to solve the developer's hardest problems meant that I had to focus on platform engineering, product platform techniques to identify what those problems are. So even in the DORA report, surprisingly for me and other people at ThoughtWorks, that an entire section on value stream mapping all of a sudden in the DORA report, and that's not surprising to us because when we go in and do a lot of these assessments and we talk to our clients, we do an end-to-end value stream mapping to identify like where the pain points are so that we can actually solve those problems. But to see Google say, A, if you got a platform engineering team, two, if you have one, you should probably be doing this kind of advanced product thinking technique to identify those things, only kind of reinforced both of the things that we've been talking about, which is you have to have this maturity and it's going to lead you to have better, more mature platform engineering teams to kind of identify what those things are because of the AI adoption stuff. So those were the two things that we saw. And then we had all of this anecdotal evidence and the actual evidence throughout the year to reinforce those
Absolutely.
ideas that we had, those hypotheses that we had.
I mean, that's perfect to close us off with that, and I think that's absolutely bang on. So I see that Claiborne has shared the link to that report, and if you haven't read the DORA report either, I would heavily recommend both. Now we've just got 6 minutes left, so people feel free to share some questions, and we'll grab a few that might come in. But as we wait for a few to get shared, I want to just talk a little bit about next year. So we covered kind of these three key things to think about, and you'll have to watch the recording. We go very fast. As you can see, we're down to the wire. We've got a lot to say here. There's a lot on the topic. Next week, we'll have all of 12, Rickey's 12 platform capabilities. The fundamental truth, you need platform as a product. If you don't have platform as a product, you're not doing a platform. Second point that I think was really crucial for us, you need a platform product manager, or you need a dedicated platform product manager role. And then third is that relationship with AI and platform engineering. AI feeds platform engineering feeds AI. So key three things we kind of covered here. Now, thinking about next year, I'm curious if you have any sense of, you know, some of these things are so hard to predict. You and I are probably going to do a panel again in June in London, or maybe in New
Mhm,
York. Who knows which one?
mhm.
Maybe both.
Both
I
like
have
like
no idea.
always.
I have like no idea what we're going to talk about there. What do you think is going to be those? What do you think we're going to talk about 6 months from now? Maybe I'll just frame it like that.
I think that there is this try or three-layer convergence of I think it'll still be more AI. I think I can't remember. It may have been, let's see who it is. It's Fahad that's in the chat that mentioned about at AWS reInvent, there's a bunch of they introduced a new set of DevOps agents. So I think that there's going to be this convergence of the infrastructure that developers, both AI and ML and all of these personas need to deliver new AI capabilities. I think there's going to be a ton of work there. CNCF is working on some of that stuff. There's other organizations that's working on that. But then I also think that in addition to that, there will be agents and there will be the rise of platforms, and the convergence of that will be a lot of talking about agentic developer platforms. We're doing a lot of research at ThoughtWorks and doing a lot of work on what does a truly agent-based SDLC look like, and how can the platform enable that? Providing the right safeguards, the right observability. How do I actually prove that the code that's being produced by some of these agents in semi-autonomous, a little bit of human in the loop? How do I prove that that's actually good code? So we're building a number of different capabilities around that, and I think that as more and more cloud vendors and SaaS companies and startups enter into that area, we're going to see dearth of those types of companies, and we'll have to navigate, should I be buying something or building something? Should I be working with a different company? I think that that's what we're going to be talking about, which is also what the right interfaces for developers to consume some of those agents at scale. Is it an AWS Q for Dev? Is it a Code Gemini? Is it something in the CLI? Is it a bunch of stuff in the IDE? Or is it some sort of agentic powered developer portal? I think we're still trying to figure out those things and the infrastructure that's necessary to support those things, and then the right like new platform engineering techniques to help identify some of that stuff. I think the convergence of that is some sort of agent or agentic developer platform. I think we're going to be talking about that a lot in 2026.
I think so. And I think we already have a few awesome things that we've been discussing, maybe sharing in future webinars and newsletters. But does that mean
Yes.
you think we're going to see a rise of the APaaS, the agentic platform as a service vendor?
I think so. I think we'll start seeing some of those. There's some startups in the valley that I've been talking to about, hey, what does that look like? Are you asking, or do you have enterprises asking for these types of capabilities? I think that that'll probably be, later in 2026. I also think that we have no clue what's going to happen. I mean, at some point today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, GPT 5.2 comes out. Who knows what's going to happen next year with the models, if there's going to be any new
Yeah.
techniques. There's a lot of things about supervised learning that's getting pretty interesting. So I think that there's a ton of things, especially as the models get better and better at producing code, producing, Terraform, producing all of these parts and pieces for working software. I think anything is possible in 2026. But if the through line continues in the same way, I think we're going to be doing a lot of work on what does an agentic platform as a service look like? What's that look like?
Awesome. And I guess as a closing statement, I'm going to take a wild guess that your agentic platform still needs platform product mindset, still needs a product manager, still needs those fundamentals. So
More
don't
so.
worry. AI is going to save the day. I don't have to think about product management. I'll just AI it. Nope. Sorry, gang. You still need to get all those fundamentals down first too. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here today. As I said, the recording is on YouTube. You'll be able to find it and it will get shared with you all. If you have any questions for myself or for Ricky, let us know. Feel free to add us both on LinkedIn. We'd love to talk to you, hear your questions, and connect with you. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us in what I think is our last webinar of the year. If you're not following Platform Weekly, make sure you go check it out, platformweekly.org. Ricky's going to be sharing an awesome newsletter next week. Thank you so much, Ricky, for joining. And thank you so much, everybody, for coming with us. Have a great day and have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.